Jake Paul officially has another win under his belt, but some people didn't think it was going to happen. One of the biggest and most recognized names in the industry, Drake, is feeling some type of way after betting against Jake Paul and losing $250,000. Jake Paul is arguably the face of influencer boxing. Although he didn't start the trend, he has somehow become one of the trend's most outstanding athletes. Before the YouTuber seriously took up boxing, he faced off with Deji, the little brother of British YouTuber and rapper KSI. The two made their boxing debut in 2018. Although Jake Paul got quite the bloody nose from the encounter, he defeated Deji and is now taking on some of the biggest names in UFC fighting. Jake Paul made a major leap in his boxing career with his fight and ultimate win against NBA star Nate Robinson, a high-profile match between the basketball pro and the budding YouTuber and boxer. This fight drew interested eyes. Jake Paul's next opponent was former Olympic and mixed martial artist Ben Askren. This marked Jake's first foray into a fight with a pro fighter, and it set him up for another major win. Paul knocked out Askren in the first round of their April 2021 fight. Jake's next fight was against former 5-time UFC champ Tyron Woodley. This fight had all kinds of trash talk leading up to the fight, including a hilarious bet between the two opponents that would have Woodley getting "I love Jake Paul" tattooed on himself if he lost. Although it's uncertain if Woodley actually kept his promise, Jake ended up taking yet another victory over the seasoned combat sports vet, winning the fight by split decision after going the full 8 rounds. Jake Paul, however, wasn't pleased with the commission's ruling and wanted his knockout, which he eventually got in their rematch. In October of 2022, Jake Paul had the biggest fight of his career thus far, stepping into the ring with Brazilian MMA star Anderson Silva. While Jake predicted he'd finish the fight by stoppage before the end of the 5th round, 47-year-old Silva managed to keep up and take it the distance. The decision went to the officials after 8 intense rounds, with Jake ultimately taking the win by unanimous decision. After multiple delays and issues, Jake finally stepped into the ring against Tommy Fury in February of 2023. Paul had nearly fought Tommy Fury twice prior to the actual fight. However, when the two did finally step in the ring together, Jake was served his first loss in his boxing career. Jake Paul has bounced back nicely from his first career loss by winning a unanimous decision against MMA star Nate Diaz in a boxing fight. The 26-year-old YouTube personality who has turned himself into a prize fighter clearly held the advantage for much of the 10-round event on Saturday night. However, Diaz, an MMA fighter who left the UFC in 2022, was on the verge of a knockout at several moments. 38-year-old Diaz, making his pro boxing debut, struck several blows near the end of the 3rd round, briefly leaving Paul wobbly before the bell. Diaz continued on the offense in the 4th round, landing several jabs. In the 5th round, Diaz appeared fatigued, and Jake Paul jumped on the opportunity. He sent Diaz briefly to the floor with a clean left hook before landing successive blows to Diaz's head later in the round. As you may already know, rapper Drake tends to make bets on the biggest fights every chance he gets. To everyone's surprise, Drake put a reported $250,000 on the line and bet on the fight's underdog. If he won, Drake would have won $1 million. We all know about the famous Drake curse when he bets on someone, right? The famous rapper has a history of betting in the Diaz brothers' favor. He said, "Drake is a dog, but I can never bet against a Diaz brother, and that's just how I was raised." Jake Paul was disappointed to see Drake betting against him, to say the least. He posted an image on Instagram that may come across a little too violent for people's taste. In the photo, he appears to be holding Nate Diaz's severed head. In the image, Jake Paul wrote that Drake is losing his bet and proceeded to post the fight's pay-per-view link. This was Jake Paul's 3rd win against a former UFC fighter. What do you guys think of Jake Paul's newest win? Were you betting on him or against him? And do you think that Drake is upset about his huge loss? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button below to receive all future notifications on the latest.